Right then, people. Champions League. What a couple of days it's been. Well, a couple of nights in the Champions League. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, share it across your social media. Go to the Instagram, follow me, share the content. Go to the YouTube, subscribe. It's really going to help me out. And let's get into this match reaction for the last two nights of Champions League action. And to be honest, just in general, it has not been a great couple of nights for English clubs. I think the only English club that can kind of come out of it with their head held high is probably Newcastle. So I don't think anyone really expected them to get a result against Barcelona, and they came out of that well. But the rest of them, it's it's been awful. I thought I've been banging on about how strong the Premier League is, how it's the strongest league in Europe, how I don't think European teams can adapt to the style of play that the Premier League are playing, a more aggressive, direct, um, defensively sound kind of structure from the Premier League teams, and they've just absolutely embarrassed us. Do you know what I mean? The European clubs have embarrassed the English clubs of the last two nights in the Champions League, and we're going to get into it all, man. Let's start with Liverpool versus Galatasaray. 1-0 to Galatasaray. Yeah, and do you know what I mean? Look, it wasn't unexpected because Galatasaray got an amazing record at home, and they have done for a while. My friend was saying that I think they haven't lost a home Champions League knockout tie since like 1976 or something like that. Like, just ridiculous record. And Liverpool, to be fair to them, they had they edged the possession. So on Sky Sports stats, it's saying that Liverpool had 54% of possession and Galatasaray had 46. They both had 15 shots. Galatasaray had 4 on target. Liverpool had 6. Galatasaray had 9 off target. Liverpool had 6 off target. So in terms of this kind of stat wise, it wasn't too bad from Liverpool. But just from watching the game and watching the highlights, look, I didn't watch the full game. I watched the highlights of it. Liverpool just don't look at the races. I think this whole slot experiment and what's going on in this second season. Look, it's always difficult when you lose the amount of players that they've lost. Not lost in terms of changes and kind of personnel changes and people that were very, very integral parts of the club, and they've now moved on and you try and bed in new players, a lot of new players, implementing a new style, trying to implement that into players that have played a certain way for the last 4 or 5 seasons under Klopp, and then go into that transition season with Arne Slot. I feel like because he had the majority of Klopp's old side, he kind of kept that style of playing. It kind of pushed him over the line in the Premier League last season. But it's just not working. Do you know what I mean? That style of playing, what he's doing for Liverpool, I think really needs a massive rebuild in the summer. And I'm not talking in terms of personnel, because I've bought a lot of personnel in and they do need time to gel. Do you know what I mean? Florian Wirtz found a bit of form. He was very poor yesterday, but he's found a bit of form. Ekitike, I think, started brilliantly for his first season in the Champions League. I don't think you can, in the Premier League, I don't think you can fault him at all. Isak's obviously out injured. Nothing they can do there. Kirk has had his problems at fullback, and I think they just need to. They're in a difficult position, but I think they need to rejig this style and kind of identify what it is they want to do and how they want to play. Because at the minute, I feel like Salah's stifled. I feel like we're not seeing the best of Wirtz. One, because the Premier League isn't as open as it has been. And I think you can see that in a lot of attacking players, that the kind of flair isn't there because they're so stifled in terms of low blocks, in terms of more man marking, teams doubling up on flair players. So I think that it's something that needs addressing in the summer. I don't think the Premier League style is going to change much. I think it has gone to a bit of a throwback where it's more gritty and kind of churn out results rather than play fantastic, free flowing, attacking football. But yeah, it's just something that you got to come to grips with. But sorry, pardon me. I thought it'd translate well into Europe, but it's just not. Look, Liverpool will go back to Anfield now, a 1-0 deficit, and we all know what Anfield's like on Champions League nights. Under those lights, you know what I mean? They're capable of anything. Even bad Liverpool teams or not informed Liverpool teams have pulled out fantastic results in the Champions League at Anfield. So I feel like the best thing they did in that game is realize when they were out of it and they kind of weren't going to get back into it, was keeping that deficit at 1-0. It's given them a real good chance for the return leg back at Anfield. So they're definitely not out of it, but it wasn't a great showing away from home. Do you know what I mean? You kind of want to get the business done and come back on a level, if not a winning platform and a level playing field going into the home tie. They haven't got that luxury now, but we'll wait and see. I'm not going to rule Liverpool out of it because we know what they're capable of at Anfield, and that crowd is their 12th man, and you know what I mean. It can really carry them through at times. So we'll have to wait and see with that one. But I saw a meme. Someone sent me a meme of Arnie Slot, and it's basically Arnie Slot, and he's got a full head of hair, and he goes, "At least I didn't leave Turkey with nothing." But I found it funny. But yeah, Liverpool, look, the season's not been great. This is the kind of only last glimmer of hope they've got this season. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they'll want to go deep into the competition, and I do think they'll turn it around at Anfield. But I think the writing's on the wall from this season. Massive summer ahead for them. Massive summer. Newcastle versus Barcelona also last night, 1-1. Look, man, Newcastle, I mean, the two must be just loving this. Do you know what I mean? Barcelona struggled against them. Newcastle played well. Large portions of games they played well. I thought Barcelona would dominate possession, but they didn't. They did edge it. They didn't dominate it. Newcastle had more shots. They had more shots on target. Obviously, they went 1-0 up. They conceded late on. And look, when you've got players like Lamela and that in the team, and you're a team of Barcelona stature, there's always going to be opportunities created. You're always going to have those kind of magicians in and around the box. And they conceded a late penalty. Is that a bit of naivety on Newcastle's side and not being able to see out a game? Yes, maybe so. But out of all the English teams, have they come out probably looking the best? By far. Because I don't think anyone expected them to do that. And now they can go to Barcelona and it's just back to a 0-0 game. Just go there and do what you need to do and try and grind out a win. And they've shown they can get at Barcelona, and they've shown that they can actually score against Barcelona, and they've shown that they can cause some problems. Now it's going to be a different game in the Camp Nou, of course, or the Spotify Stadium, whatever it's called now. It's going to be a different game there, but they've shown they can do it. And imagine how massive that would be for Newcastle if they knocked Barcelona out the Champions League, man. I think 1-1 for them, fantastic result. And I think out of all the English clubs, they're the only one that can kind of come out with their heads held high. Yeah, man, like, I respect the result. I think they've done well. I think they've done very well in the game. And they also had loads of chances. I think Elanga played his best game in a Newcastle shirt. There's so many chances in that game. And I just think with a fully fit squad, you put Guimaraes back in that midfield, they really would have caused Barcelona some problems last night. But look, they're still in the tie. And I think that was the main kind of... Of course, the gaffer would have sent him out saying, look, we want to go and win this. I think that's how every team sets up. The Champions League is a kind of a bit of a chess game because it's a two-legged tie. So I think if someone was to offer them before the game, you'll go into the away leg of your Champions League game now against Barcelona on a level playing field. I think they would have bit your hands off to them. So well done to Newcastle, man. I think they performed fantastically in that game. Let's get on to Spurs. Oh my God. Just when I thought it could not get any worse for these lot, they just keep on giving me ammunition to keep going at them. They're fucking awful, man. Awful. I mean, 3 goals down within 20 minutes. I felt so bad for the keeper. Do you know what I mean? Bad man management by the manager. You don't make them kind of big decisions and big calls in these kind of games and bring in your reserve keeper. And then taking him off after 17 minutes. He's just ruined that lad's career. His confidence, his shot, and God forbid he has to rely on him now in the Premier League at some point. Where's his head going to be at? Awful man management. I know they got two goals back and it ended 5-2, but they're well and truly out of this tie. I expect Atletico Madrid to go to Spurs and not concede 3 or 4 goals. I expect them to go there and score. Bye Spurs. Champions League dreams are over. Premier League's looking like you're going to be out of it as well, and it's a terrible end, man, to what really is the nearly man kind of club. As they wanted to be part of the traditional Big Six and see themselves as this big club, but they're just falling by the wayside now. You know, I mean, they all jumped up in arms and was celebrating when Daniel Levy got sacked, and when he got sacked and when he left the club or whatever happened there. There was all over the moon saying we're going to get Saudi owners, Amazon want to buy us, and now you fucking lucky if Tesco want to buy you, mate, in the Championship. Do you know what I mean? They're done. Do you know what I mean? They finished 15th, 16th last season in the Premier League. There's no way they should have been in the Premier League in the Champions League competition. They got there because they won the Europa League, a Europa League that's now being devalued because Champions League teams don't drop into it. So we're going to get a lot more teams like Spurs that are nowhere near the level or class to be in Champions League competitions, and they're going to be there not off merit or their domestic league performances, but off the fact of winning that competition, which has become a subpar competition somewhat now, because you haven't got the threat of a big Champions League team or a big European club falling into it. And I think this is just what's happened to them. It's men against boys out on that pitch, and I know they blame the pitch and saying it was slippery, but the pitch was the same for both teams. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just you guys. The pitch was the same for both teams. And then for your manager to come out after, for Igor Tudor to come out after and say that for 2 to 3 minutes we're in the game and we were playing well. For 2 to 3 minutes. I've taken pisses that last longer than 2 to 3 minutes. Spurs, it's over, man. I feel sorry for Expressions. He's shot. I've been watching his match reactions, and he's wanting to go check on him, man. He's not in a good way. But yeah, Spurs look well and truly out of it. I don't even think they should show up for the return leg. Play the kids, concentrate on trying to stay in the Premier League. You lot are done, mate. It's game over for you lot, Spurs. Getting on to tonight's action. I'm going to keep the Arsenal game till last, because it's got some of the biggest points I want to make on it. Obviously, with it being my team, so I'm going to spend a bit longer on that. Just want to go into PSG versus Chelsea. Chelsea, same thing, man. It's fucking just... Do you know what I mean? I don't know what's going on at that club and the changing of managers and things like that. This briefcase wanker they got in now from in between us hasn't got a clue what he's doing. And PSG were just cruising. Do you know what I mean? It was like watching a cat toy with a mouse, and it's like they let you think you're getting away, they let you think you're going somewhere, and then they grab you by the tail. And when they wanted to, they just moved into second gear, and they absolutely just blew them away. Do you know what I mean? And this is what happens in this competition. The teams that don't look so good in the group stages thing, PSG did it last year. They didn't even start showing up properly until the knockout stages, and then they started doing what they're doing. And going off tonight, they're looking like a big threat. Bradley Barcola on the score sheet, Dembele on the score sheet, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia getting 2 late on. And do you know what I mean? When you look at their team, it's stacked with talent, and they're definitely going to be there and thereabouts. I don't expect Chelsea to go. PSG to come to Chelsea and concede 3 or 4 goals. Same with the Spurs kind of result. I think Chelsea are out of it now, and they just need to concentrate on domestic performances and see if they can break into a Champions League space, which I don't think they will do. And it's just, you know what I mean? It just proves you can't throw money at a situation and think it's going to work. The club's got no ethos. It's got no kind of structure to it. It's just, let's spend $1 billion each season and see where we get to. You haven't got Abramovich. It's not going to be the same. And it's the writing's on the wall. Do you know what I mean? It's just you want to be in big conversations of a big club, but you need to go through a rebuilding stage, and you won't give a manager any decent amount of time to actually rebuild. And you keep just buying players, not because you need them, just because you don't want other clubs to buy them. And this isn't Football Manager, and this is what the outcome comes to. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they've got any hope at the bridge. I don't think the bridge holds the kind of magic that Anfield does, where they could turn around a 3-goal deficit. I expect PSG to go there and do a professional job. And look, they may lose on the night, it may be 2-1 or something, but I expect them to go there and score. And yeah, Chelsea, well and truly out of it, lads. Awful performance tonight. Just before I get into Real Madrid and Man City, I just want to touch on Bodo Glimt beating Sporting CP 3-0. Bodo Glimt, absolutely class, man. Absolutely class. You know what I mean? It's one of them fairy tale stories. I hope you don't go too far in it, because I hope that at some point Arsenal are going to meet you and will beat you. But I got to say, what they're doing is fantastic, man. What a time for their fans it must be for them to be killing European giants like this at home. Because great story for the Champions League. That is, it's just good to see. Right, let's get into the Real Madrid Man City game. Valverde on an absolute madness tonight. That third goal and what he did to Gay, the way he pulled it, the way he flicked it around him in the air. You could see Gay's face after. He knew that he was just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what can you do? It's not that Gay is a bad defender, and it's not that this is a constant thing that happens to him. It's just sometimes it's not your day and you get outclassed, and that's what happened. Valverde turned up today. Real Madrid played out of their skin after watching that Benfica game when they in the kind of qualifiers for this. I didn't even give them a hope of beating Man City. I thought Man City would just walk through them. They've got the injuries, and Mbappe was out, Bellingham was out, Rodrigo's out now for the season. Probably going to miss the World Cup as well. Well, he's going to miss the World Cup, and City have gone there in not good form, but Semenyo's in banging in the goals. Haaland is doing Haaland things in the Premier League, but still, do you know what I mean? They've gone to Madrid, and Madrid have well and truly shown them, I think, what a Champions League heritage club is all about. I'm starting to think that I don't know. I don't want to say it too early, but I'm starting to think that maybe Pep Guardiola has lost a bit of his magic. Because look, the team selection wasn't great tonight, I don't think. Playing players out of position and trying to kind of move them in and around the game, I don't think it really worked out for him. Haaland was non-existent. If that was any of play, if that was Gyökeres, he would have got ripped to shreds tonight. Haaland was non-existent, did nothing. Semenyo kind of realised at the Champions League level, it's a different kettle of fish. Jeremy Doku just headless chicken on the pitch. We all know about that. Gay was getting the runaround from Valverde all night. Nico Riley was, having to invert, having to drop into midfield, play attacking midfield. At one point, he was on the wing. And I feel like what's happened is I feel like the game's developing and going, like I said, it's going in a different way where teams are more resolute at the back and then they attack. That's what's happening in the Premier League. But in the Champions League, teams are a bit more open and attacking. And I feel like this should have played into City's hands. But I feel like the buying that City have done, the player selection and the platforming of players is not what we typically expect from Pep. And I feel like he might have lost a bit of his allure and his kind of the mystique that's around Pep Guardiola. And look, he's still, top three managers of all time throughout Europe, worldwide. You know what I mean? He's and for what he's done, he's top two in the Premier League with him and Fergie. And that can't be taken away from him. But all good things do come to an end. You know what I mean? It happened to Wenger, happened to Fergie, it happened to Mourinho. The game just outgrows these great managers at times. And I feel like this is what might be happening to City. Look, they're still in a space where they could win a quad. I know that this game, there's a second leg. I don't think that City will come back and beat Real Madrid. I expect Real Madrid to still score when they go to City because that's their game. They're an attacking club. But you'd have thought that a team that comes onto City and plays on the front foot against them plays into their hands a bit, but it hasn't worked in this. And in the league, it hasn't really been working. Like even Forest last week, they came onto them, they attacked them, they gave it as good as they got, and they got a point out of it in the end. And I feel like that's happened to not only City, I think that's happened to all Premier League clubs in these last two nights in the Champions League. And I think it's shocking, man. It's shocking. I don't know how you feel about it, but I really thought that the Premier League clubs would absolutely just smash this first stage of the knockout rounds, but they're struggling. Look, man, I never put it past Pep and City to turn it around, but I think with the heritage and the kind of club that Real Madrid are, I don't think they're going to turn it around. So, as we look at it now, I think that Liverpool got a chance to still go through. Spurs are done. Chelsea are done. Newcastle, it's going to be difficult to go away to Barcelona, but they're still in with a chance. And I think City are done. So do you know what I mean? After having Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Spurs. Yeah, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, and Newcastle. Yeah, after having 6 teams in the first round of knockout stages and potentially after the first leg, 3 of them teams are pretty much out of it. It's pretty damning for the Premier League and English teams. We'll have to see next week, but I can't see them turning it around. Right, let's get into it. Arsenal, by Leverkusen versus Arsenal, 1-1. Um, it's worrying. I'm not going to lie, it's worrying. And why I say it's worrying is because, look, you can take, as an Arsenal fan, I can take the not so great football, not so attacking football, not so easy on the eye football when the result goes our way. Then I say, you know what? If it wins us something, I'll take it. But tonight, we really got lucky. You know, the penalty was soft. If that penalty was given against us, I would be furious. The penalty was soft. Kai Havertz stepped up against his old club. High pressure penalty, 89th minute. Do you know what I mean? If he misses that, pretty much we're going to go back to the Emirates with a one goal deficit, but it's managed to bring us back on a level playing field. I do think we've got the capabilities to go back to the Emirates and get the result to get through, but I don't think it's going to be easy. They caused us all sorts of problems today. They were the better team for most of the game. They were passing better through the lines. Their players were better platformed. They were spreading the ball around better. They were going back to front with much more fluidity than us. That the striker they got up front, Christian Christian. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. That guy up front, Christian. I can't pronounce his surname. Kofane. Kafani, Christian Kafani. I don't know, but he's supposed to be a youngster, and he was phenomenal. And he caused Saliba and Gabriel some of the biggest problems I've seen them face this season. They came prepared, man. A lot of Arsenal fans, including me, thought this was going to be a walk in the park, and it was far from it. And if we show up and play like that at the Emirates, there's a good chance we'll be going out. Arteta's really got to now think about the issue with the game tonight was I feel like I don't feel like it lay with Arteta. Look, Arteta identified Saka wasn't bringing enough into the game. He brought Madueke on. Madueke instantly was going at him, being direct, going straight into the box. He won the penalty, whether it's fortunate or not. He won the penalty. He was putting in crosses. Yeah, they weren't great crosses all the time, but he was being a nuisance and causing some problems for him. Everything else he played besides that was too like side to side, go back, side to side, go back. And there's no one really taking the game by the scruff. Look, our defense had a hard time tonight, but I'm not going to put too much pressure on our defense because they've got us out of so much trouble this season. I think Nkapie was class. David Raya made a few good saves that kind of kept us in it. Saliba and Gabriel did not have their best day. And Timber, I feel like defensively he was okay. I feel like attacking wise, he just didn't really offer much. Saka had a really poor game tonight. Really poor game. I feel like he's lost a yard of pace and his explosiveness, and I think like it's really affecting his game. He's also becoming a bit predictable. Like he always just wants to cut back in and shoot on his left foot, and they were just blocking everything, and they weren't even really doubling up on him tonight. They were just kind of leaving the fullback to deal with him, and he was dealing with him. That's why when it's very rare Saka gets taken off when Arsenal need a goal. They're trailing. If we're winning, or he's late on, or he's just come back from injury, or we've got another game, yeah, he might get taken off, but not in this sort of game for him to get taken off. And he was captain the side is very strange. But it wasn't just Saka tonight. I mean, I feel like this was the kind of game where he could have took it at the scruff of the neck and kind of stamped his authority on it. He didn't do it. I feel like Declan Rice played well, did what he could. I feel Zubimendi kind of was in and out of the game. I feel like Martinelli just did Martinelli things, which is not very much, to be honest, in tonight's game. A bit clueless, a bit like Doku at times, just kind of making wrong choices, sloppy passes, couldn't beat his fullback. And look, it's not great. It's not great from Arsenal. Is the pressure getting to him of being in a quote unquote quadruple race? Is what they're doing in the Premier League not going to be suitable to do it in the Champions League? It's looking like it for all Premier League clubs. But yeah, that tonight was, look, we've got out of jail, we've got the point. I'm not going to go too hard in on them. I think we'll get the job done at the Emirates, but we need to really fix this style of play, not just for this, but for the Premier League as well. Otherwise, we're going to end up with egg on our faces. You know what I mean? We've got to win one of the two. We've got to win the Champions League or the Premier League. Because I don't think a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup together or individually cut it. We've got to win one of the big two. And performing like that, I don't think we'll win either of them. So look, it needs addressing. I think we'll get it done at the Emirates. But yeah, man, all in all, disappointing night for all English clubs bar Newcastle, I'd say. But even Newcastle, they should have held on really and got the 1-0 win. Three of them are out. City's gone, Spurs are gone, Chelsea's gone. I only really can see Arsenal and Newcastle and Liverpool having a chance of going through now to the quarters. Let's see how it gets in the next leg. Like I said, smash like on the video, like, comment, subscribe, share it. I'm gonna have a weekend Premier League review out Friday night, Saturday morning. So that'll be out. We'll do the predictions for the weekend. We'll get into the weekend's action and the games, the relegation battle, the top 4 race, and obviously the Premier League title race. Thank you so much, guys. Peace and love.